Welcome to Beyond the Darkness, the place where the strange corners of the internet finally get a voice. Out there, buried deep in forgotten forums, abandoned story archives, anonymous confession boards, and late-night discussion threads, are stories most people laugh off as fiction. But every once in a while, you stumble across one that feels too real, too detailed, too specific, too human. Stories whispered from users who vanished the next day, posts deleted minutes after they appeared, screenshots preserved only by those brave or foolish enough to look deeper. Here, on this channel, we dive into those tales, the ones the internet tries to bury, the ones that follow you into your dreams, the ones that might, just might, be true. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself, because once you enter beyond the darkness, the shadows don't let go.
I've never told many people this, but when I was a kid growing up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I think I had a real encounter with something I still can't explain. Skinwalker, Wendigo, mimic. I don't know. All I know is that it wasn't human, and I might have accidentally invited it inside. My parents owned about 10 acres surrounded by thick woods. When I was around 12 or 13, a few friends came over for Halloween. There were 4 of us total. We were bored around midnight and decided to play hide and seek outside. The only rule was no one crosses the tree line. Everyone agreed. I was a seeker, paired with one of my friends, while the other 2 hid. About 20 minutes in, we split up around the property. I was near the front of the house when I heard a coyote whining in the distance. Nothing unusual for where we lived, until it suddenly stopped. Not just the coyote. Everything stopped. No wind, no crickets, no movement, just complete unnatural silence. I tried to brush it off and kept searching. Eventually, I made my way near a small clearing close to the tree line where no one was supposed to be. That's when I heard my friend's voice call out, "Over here!" But it didn't come from a clearing. It came from deep inside the trees, at least 50 meters past the line. I froze. He knew the rules. None of us ever went in there at night, and definitely not that far. I flashed my light toward the trees and called out something stupid to make him laugh, expecting him to step out. Nothing, no movement, no breathing, just silence so heavy it felt wrong. A wave of dread hit me hard enough to make my hands shake. I kept listening, and then, again, from somewhere else this time, off to my left. "Over here," same voice, same tone, but wrong, like someone trying to imitate him without understanding how emotion worked. At this point, my stomach dropped. Something felt predatory. I'd grown up around wildlife. This wasn't wildlife. I kept backing up and said, "Dude, I give up. Come out. It's freezing. Let's just go inside." Nothing. Then I heard crunching footsteps in the leaves. Slow, heavy, measured. Not running, not trying to hide. Stalking. Another whisper. "Here." My whole body went cold. Whatever it was didn't sound like a kid messing around, and it didn't sound human. I pulled out the pistol I'd stuffed in my pocket earlier, my dad's SIG Sauer M17, and warned whoever it was that I was armed. No response. So I fired a shot into a tree in the direction of the voice. Silence. Not even the echo felt normal. That was the moment I knew without a doubt that whoever I was talking to wasn't one of my friends. I bolted, full sprint, back toward the house. When I reached the porch, all 3 of my friends were sitting there, talking. They looked at me like I had just seen a ghost, which, honestly, I might have. They said they'd been on the porch almost the entire time. To this day, I still don't know what was out there mimicking my friend's voice in the woods. I've checked the yard 100 times since then, looking for tracks or anything out of place. But there's never anything. And ever since that night, since I told that thing, whatever it was, that it could come inside, I've carried a gun with me, everywhere. I don't know what I talked to. I don't know what tried to lure me past the tree line, but something did, and it wasn't human.
You ever hear something in the woods that you just know it ain't right? I have, and I wish to God I hadn't. Well, I reckon I should start at the beginning. Wasn't the first time I'd seen something crawl that shouldn't crawl, but it was the first time I ever went back looking for it. See, some months before this I had myself an encounter with something pale, low to the ground, moving like bones held together with anger instead of muscle. Didn't tell many folks. Folks around here don't take kindly to stories like that. They say you're losing your mind, but a couple of co-workers of mine, Ryan and Mark, they believed me enough to ask if I'd take them out to the spot. Said they wanted to check it out. Boys, you don't go checking out things like that. You let them be. But I was younger then, stupid, braver than I should have been. So I took them. We got out there just after dark. Fence lines stretching long into the trees. Woods so thick they look like a wall. You ever been in a forest that didn't make no noise? Not a bird, not a cricket, not even the wind? It's the kind of silence that feels like something's waiting. We walked slow along the fence, not talking, just listening. And the longer we walked, the heavier the air got, like the whole forest was holding its breath. Then Mark stopped and whispered, "You hear that?" I didn't hear nothing, not yet. But the hair on my arms stood up, like something was on his way. We took maybe 5 more steps when Ryan stiffened like he'd been shocked. He slapped a hand to the back of his neck and spun around. "I swear someone breathed on me," he said. Now you gotta understand, Ryan was a big fella, didn't scare easy. But the way he said it, quiet, broken, I believed him. He said it was warm breath, right against his skin, like someone was standing inches behind him. But there wasn't a soul there, not one damn thing. And that's when the woods changed. We started hearing it, heavy footsteps, just inside the tree line, walking alongside us and keeping pace, slow, deliberate, like whatever it was wanted us to know it was there. We lit up the trees with our flashlights, beams strong enough to blind a bear, but we ain't see nothing. Not a branch moving, not a shadow shifting, just those footsteps getting closer and slowing down. Right when we stopped, then it happened. Right between us, I swear, right between us, we heard a dog whimper. Not far away, not in the woods. Right beside us, like an invisible mutt was lying at our feet. But the sound wasn't quite right. It was stretched, slow, like something was trying to copy a dog, but didn't know how. Mark whispered, "What the hell was that?" We swung our lights everywhere, nothing. But that whimper, it kept going. 5 long seconds. Then it just stopped. Cut clean off. No fade, no shuffle, just gone. Like someone shut its mouth with their hand. That's when the truth hit us, all at once. The breath on Ryan's neck, the footsteps with no body, the dog cry from empty air. That wasn't an animal, wasn't no person neither. It was something smart, something hiding, Something that could imitate sounds. We couldn't get them just right. Something that wanted us there. And boys, let me tell you, nothing good in those woods wants you there. We started back toward the truck. Slow, careful. None of us turned our backs to the trees. And the whole time, we felt it walking beside us, not close enough to see, just close enough to know. By the time we reached the truck, something in those woods let out a long, low breath. Sounded like it was standing right at the fence line, watching us leave. We never went back, and we never will. Sometimes, late at night, when the world gets quiet, I still hear that same dog whimper, real soft, real close, like it remembers me, and it's waiting for me to come back. I ain't ever going back.
I just want to start things off by saying that this isn't necessarily my story, but my mom's story instead. This story happened to her well over 10 years ago when we were moving houses. It's worth mentioning that the events that took place happened on the last day while we were moving out. Every time my mom retells this story to me or anyone else, it always freaks her out and makes her very uncomfortable, which you'll soon learn why. We were moving houses as my stepdad's mom was wanting to move back into that house. We had moved up from California to Montana, and we had nowhere to stay or move our stuff to. My stepdad's mom, however, was generous and decided to give the house she was living in to us and would go move down to Helena for a year with her husband. She then would allow my parents a year to find a house and move there, as she wanted to have her house back after that. It's also worth noting that the house was a huge area of property with barbed wire fence surrounding most of it. The part that creeped me out when I lived there was that the house was surrounded by forest that seemed to go on for miles. So fast forward a year, my parents were fortunate to find a house not too far from where we originally lived. It took us 2 days to move everything out of the old house and into the new one. On the second to last day is when everything happened. My mom and my stepdad were going back to the house to grab the last of the stuff that was there and to lock the place up. They got there, and my stepdad told my mom that he would be in the outdoor garage if she needed anything. My mom had said okay and made her way into the house. A quick description of the house, as it's important to the story. There are 2 entry-exit points of the house. The first is in the front of the house, and the second is in the back. If you were to enter from the front door, you'd be in the living room. If you were to walk for a little bit and turn right, there's a mini corridor with 3 rooms. The room on the left was my brother's room. The middle one was the bathroom, and the one on the right was mine. If you were to keep going straight after coming in the front, you'd be in the laundry room, and there was the back door which led outside. If you were to turn right before entering the laundry room, there's the stairs which leads upstairs. Upon going upstairs, if you turn left, there's another mini corridor with 2 rooms on opposite sides. The bathroom was on left side, and my parents' bedroom was on the right. If you turn right after going upstairs, there was the kitchen on the right side of the room and the dining area on the left side. There was also a balcony nearing the dining room that overlooks the front yard. My mom had gone through all the rooms downstairs to ensure that she didn't miss anything. She eventually makes her way upstairs and begins going through all the rooms. She's in the kitchen, grabbing the last few things when she hears it. She heard what she said was the slow, heavy footsteps downstairs. The footsteps made its way up the stairs until it stopped at the last step. My mom then heard my dad's voice say loud and clear to her, "I don't think that's a good idea." My mom paused for a moment and stood there in confusion. She asked him, "What's not a good idea?" but was met with no response. She asked again, but there was no response. She starts getting annoyed, thinking he's messing with her. So she goes over to the stairs. She makes it to the stairs, only to see that nobody was there. She was confused for a moment, but that confusion and annoyance had quickly turned into fear and dread. My mom stood there at the top of the stairs, not knowing what to do. She goes back to what she was doing when she hears the back door open and close. At first, she thought it was my stepdad leaving, but soon realized how could he make it downstairs with zero noise. She heard the same slow, heavy footsteps coming up the stairs again. She went to go look and had saw that my stepdad was there and was coming up the stairs. My stepdad tells my mom that he'd just finished grabbing the rest of his tools from the outdoor garage and was ready to go. My mom looked at him and asked him, "What's not a good idea?" My stepdad stared at her dumbfounded. She asked him the same question again, and he replied with, "What are you talking about?" My mom explained the footsteps she heard and had heard his voice asking that same question. My stepdad said he wasn't in the house at all until a minute ago. He said he was outside the whole time, grabbing his stuff and locking up the garage. My mom was at a loss for words and was beginning to feel nervous too. My mom swore up and down that she thought my stepdad was there and heard his voice. My stepdad had reassured her that it wasn't him and that she was probably tired from staying up the night before and from how stressed she was. A few moments later is when everything had went from weird to downright horrifying. Shortly after my stepdad finished talking, the kitchen lights started flickering, the chandelier in the dining room started swaying back and forth, the bathroom door slammed shut, and all of the cabinet doors violently swung open at the same time. The cabinet doors then slammed shut, which was then followed by a loud crashing noise that came from the bedroom. My parents went to go check it out and had saw that the ceiling fan had fallen to the ground. At that point, my mom was so shaken up that she looked at my stepdad and said that they need to leave now, that she's done and doesn't want to be there anymore. They grabbed the last of their stuff and hurried downstairs. When they got downstairs, they saw my old bedroom door open and slammed shut on its own. My parents had gone out the back door and threw the stuff they had in their car. My mom went back inside to grab the last of the stuff from downstairs and heard the bedroom door upstairs being slammed shut repeatedly. She got the last of the stuff, locked up the house, and sped out of there without looking back. My mom firmly believes that someone or something was in that house that wanted them out of there. I have a few theories about that house and what went on that day. My first theory is that the entity haunting that house is probably a mimic due to it copying my stepdad's voice. My other theory is that it was likely either a skinwalker or a wendigo, since our house was on Native American land and we did live on a reservation next to a huge forest. I've told some people this story and some believe the same thing that I said. Others believe that it was some other spirit that liked our company and was upset that day and caused everything to happen due to us leaving. My mom had also told me that she had witnessed unexplained things when we lived there. She told me that she had woken up in the middle of the night to footsteps on the balcony and even footsteps on the roof. She has heard the front door open and closed and thought it was either me or my brother, only to go check and find that both of us were asleep. She's even seen the bedroom door open on its own, only to see that nobody was there. My mom also believes that someone or something was there always watching us, which made her feel that there was something wrong with the house. I'm glad that we're out of that house and never have to deal with it again.
It was 1:47 a.m. when I woke up violently, like something had ripped me out of sleep. That alone terrified me. I don't wake up at night, never have. When I fall asleep, I'm gone until morning. But there I was, wide awake, staring at the glowing red numbers of the digital clock, my heart already pounding, my mouth dry like I'd been running. Mara wasn't beside me. For a brief, horrifying moment, I thought something had happened to her, until reality caught up. Night shift, the hospital, Thursday night. I lay there for a few seconds, trying to calm my breathing. I told myself I was fine, just a bad dream. Still, the unease wouldn't fade. Eventually, I got up and headed downstairs to get some water. The house was silent in that deep, unnatural way it only is after midnight. No cars, no voices, no wind. Even the neighborhood felt empty, like everyone had vanished at once. I'd always loved this house. Quiet street, close to downtown, decent neighbors. We'd lived here 7 years without so much as a break-in. Standing in the kitchen, filling a glass at the sink. I even caught myself thinking about hosting a barbecue soon. That's when I noticed it. A shape. At the far end of the backyard, near the fence. At first, I thought my eyes were still adjusting to the dark, but the longer I looked, the clearer it became. A tall, thin silhouette, darker than the night around it. Human-shaped, perfectly still, staring straight through the glass. At me. A chill crawled up my spine. Someone was standing in my yard, not moving, not hiding, just watching. I couldn't move. The figure didn't shift, didn't breathe, didn't sway. It stood like a cutout pasted into the darkness. The longer it stared, the more certain I became of one thing. If I didn't move first, it would. Fear turned into anger. I yanked open a drawer and grabbed the flashlight. I stormed toward the veranda, flung open the glass door, and blasted the beam straight at the figure. Nothing. The yard was empty. No movement, no shadows, no place anyone could have hidden. The garden was small, clean, well kept. I stood there longer than I want to admit, scanning the darkness until I finally convinced myself I'd imagined it. Exhaustion, shock, a half dream. I went back inside, took 2 steps toward the counter, and saw it again. The same figure, same place, same posture, watching. My stomach dropped. I didn't scream. The boys were asleep upstairs, and the street outside was dead silent. I stared, barely breathing. I headed back toward the door, slower this time. That's when I noticed something deeply wrong. The figure wasn't just standing there. It was moving when I moved. I stopped. It stopped. I stepped to the side. So did it. Perfectly. Like a reflection. Only my reflection was outside, standing in the dark. Panic hit hard. I paced the kitchen. The figure paced the yard. But its movements weren't right. Jerky. Uncertain. Like it didn't fully understand how legs worked. Like it was copying what walking was supposed to look like. I raised the flashlight again. Gone. Just the reflection of my own terrified face in the glass. I stood there for nearly 30 minutes, convinced it hadn't left, only hidden. Eventually, exhaustion dragged me back upstairs. I checked on the boys, both sound asleep. I watched the backyard from the bedroom window until dawn crept in. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Mara laughed when I told her, said it was probably sleep paralysis. I laughed with her, but I knew better. That night, I stayed awake. Sometime after midnight, I dozed off on the couch. When I woke, stiff and disoriented, the house was dark except for the glow of the TV. I went to the kitchen. It was there again. Same place, same shape. This time, I grabbed my phone and took pictures. The screen showed nothing useful, just darkness and grain. But as I lifted the phone, the thing copied me. Its arm rose, too stiff. The wrist bent the wrong way, fingers stretched long and thin, like dry branches barely holding together. It mimed taking a picture, clumsy and wrong. Then Mara spoke behind me. "Evan, what are you doing?" I nearly collapsed. She came to the window, and she saw it. The color drained from her face. "What the fuck is that?" she whispered. She called the police. While she spoke, I watched the thing mimic her movements, each gesture smoother than before. Learning. The officers arrived. The yard was empty. Friday night, Mara packed the kids and left. I stayed. I set up a night vision camera, bought a gas pistol. I was done being afraid. After midnight, I heard voices through the camera audio. Broken, garbled. Then the thing appeared again, visible only to my eyes. I went outside and fired. The round passed straight through it. Then it spoke, in Mara's voice, then the cops, then mine. "What should I tell them, Mara?" It charged. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I bolted. I tore through the kitchen, nearly slipping on the tile, grabbed my car keys off the nightstand by the door, and burst out the front of the house. Cold night air slammed into my lungs as I sprinted down the driveway. I could hear it behind me. Heavy footsteps, too fast, too close. Over and over, my own voice echoed through the dark, coming from right behind me. "What should I tell them, Mara?" I threw myself into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the keys the first time. I fumbled, my breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps, convinced that at any second it would be ripping the door open. The engine finally turned over, and that's when I looked up. It was standing in the open doorway of the house. The black figure filled the frame, impossibly tall, its head nearly brushing the top of the door. The porch light didn't touch it. It just swallowed the glow, standing there like a hole cut into the world. It didn't chase me. It didn't rush forward. It just watched. I peeled out of the driveway, tires screaming as I sped down the street. My heart hammered so hard, I thought I might pass out. When I dared to glance into the rearview mirror, I saw it one last time. Still standing in the doorway, it slowly lifted one arm. At first, the motion was stiff and awkward, like before, jerky, unnatural, as if it didn't quite understand how joints were supposed to bend. The hand trembled, fingers twitching out of sync. Then halfway through the motion, something changed. The arm smoothed out. The movement became fluid, natural. It waved, not clumsy, not broken. A calm, familiar wave, like an old friend seeing you off. And in that moment, I understood something far worse than fear. It wasn't chasing me because it didn't need to. It had already learned enough.
Hi, my name is Gregory, and this is my story. I barely escaped, and if anything similar ever happens to you, proceed with extreme caution. I woke up from my nap awakened by a small bump in the road. We were going back home from a soccer game. I was on the high school varsity team, and I even got a few minutes in. This was a big game, and we had just barely won with a penalty kick after they fouled us. I lived in Arizona, where the dirt is brown and the sun is bleak. There are no beautiful greens or blues, especially out where I am. Only ugly browns and yellows. How far are we? I asked. Anyone who was awake, feeling the fatigue weighing heavily on me, saw from the few minutes I was in. Few hours out. Ethan, my closest friend on the team, replied, his voice soft and weary. I sighed, closing my eyes. A sudden bump jolted me upwards. The shock shook me, fully awake now. I looked at my phone and saw the time, 1:16 a.m. It was way too late. The length of the drive almost deserved a night at a hotel. Almost. The ride was silent. It was also bumpy. Strangely bumpy, I noticed. And rough. I mean, rougher than normal. Not like a bumpy road. More like... I looked out. We were in the middle of nowhere. It was your average nowhere here in the Grand Canyon State. Ugly creosote trees. Nasty. And the leaves just felt wrong. The road wasn't even asphalt. It was dirt. I don't think we ever drove on dirt to the game. And why would we? I looked ahead and tried to see the coaches in front. It was hard to see through the seats and other players. Everyone was scattered about, on the floor, between chairs, backwards, underneath, and other ways. I was able to see the bus driver. He looked straight ahead, unmoving. I wanted to ask why we were off the regular road, but would have to yell to do so, and I didn't want to wake anyone up. So I played games on my phone until I couldn't take it anymore. I walked to the front of the bus and asked the driver where we were going. He did not reply. He only kept staring forward, which kinda scared me. Hey, where are we? I asked. Still no response. This ain't funny. I waved my hand in front of his face, and nothing still. Ryder turned and started to walk away. He said, "Smell it. It's beautiful and strange." I stopped and turned back at him. He sighed. "It's amazing. I want it, whatever it is." My mouth went dry, and I felt goosebumps climb up my arms and up my back. Something about this just felt wrong. "We're almost there. Can't you smell it?" he said, emotionless. I think this is it," he said right before he floored the brakes, throwing everyone forward. I got thrown the furthest and landed up on the dashboard and then rolled off. My already sore body hurt. At the moment I thought it was painful, how wrong I was, because soon I would experience pain much, much worse. The driver smiled. "Everyone out," he said into the microphone. The sound emanated in and through the bus and out into the cold night as he pushed the button that opens the door. I smelled nothing. Everyone else seemed as confused as I was, especially the coach. "What's going on?" Coach Johnson asked. "It's outside. Go see it," the driver said. Coach looked worried and confused, but replied calmly, "Why? What's out there?" "The amazing thing, it smells. It smells like joy and happiness." Coach shifted in his seat before slowly getting up. "All right, but only if you come with me, right? Kids, if I'm not back in a minute, call 911. "Wait, what's out there?" "Coach, don't," Noah said. "If this is a prank," Coach Johnson said before slowly stepping out the bus. The driver followed him, and the coach inspected the area around the bus. I stood up and looked at the others. Everyone, including myself, was nervous and scared. Something about this whole thing just felt off. Soon we were all watching out the windows. As they moved around, so did we, trying to get good views. I felt hot air hit the back of my neck. and I looked away for a moment to see who. Jordan. There was a sudden scream and a shrill moan. The scream was cut short, and the moan faded. I quickly, and in horror, looked back and saw nothing. Both the coach and the bus driver were gone. Everyone was paralyzed with fear, especially those who had actually seen it. What happened? I looked away, thinking it was probably all just a prank. No one responded for a moment. I smirked. In the blink of an eye, Tyler, who had seen it, frantically ran to the front of the bus and pressed the button to shut the door. He stared at it and leaned forward, looking like he was trying to get a glimpse at something out of it. Right as the door shut, there was a bang as something hit it. Tyler screamed and jumped back, his face in a petrified state. What? What? I yelled, begging to know what was happening. The thing, Tyler stuttered out. What thing? I asked. The thing that took Coach. It's out there. It's banging on the door. It wants in. He said quietly. There was another bang, and quickly following it was a sound like a scrambling animal around and under the bus. Sam began to cry. I got more and more freaked out by the minute. The worry I was experiencing was sickening, and my adrenaline was at an all-time high, and just kept getting higher. I was getting pretty sure it was not a prank, but the idea still held on. Deep down, I knew it was not a prank, no matter how hard I tried to pretend it was. What do we do? Someone asked. We gotta drive away, Tyler said. Please do. Sam shouted through tears. I didn't move. I stood still, petrified. Tyler turned the key, but nothing happened. He tried again, and again. It wasn't working. Grab anything that could be used as a weapon, he shouted. We all scrambled to find a weapon. One player brought a pocket knife. The others just had to make do with pencils and pens. I had nothing, so I took one of Ethan's pencils. What is happening? I yelled. What is it? Ethan stopped. A monster, he said before continuing to scramble around the bus, trying again to see it. Everyone was now looking for what took Coach. I looked, but couldn't see it. Only darkness. The bus's headlights were on, but it didn't seem to make a difference. Silence and nothingness. Everyone perked their heads around the windows, looking for the monster. I was still confused. What did they? Could they mean by monster? An animal? A person? It did not even occur to me that what they meant by a monster was a monster. I felt a sudden chill and looked to see where it had come from. There, I saw Mason peeking out of a window. He had opened it to look for the monster. His fingers clinged to the edge to hold himself up and to get a better view. He looked around. Tyler yelled at him. Shut the window. What? Mason asked, confused. Frenzied animal-like running could be heard from under the bus as it ran towards the window. His eyes went wide for a mere moment before he screamed in pain as his arms were pulled through the window. He pulled back in anguish and panic. I wish I could say I tried to help him, to rescue him, but I only sat there as Tyler ran from the front of the bus and grabbed him and pulled him back, barely saving him from being pulled completely out the window. I looked at him. Half his fingers were gone, and the others half gone. They all were chewed and gnawed on. Blood leaked from the wounds. Tyler ran to the front of the bus and grabbed the first aid kit. He ran back, opening it. Mason was in agonized frenzy. Tyler grabbed some gauze and wrapped it around his hand, trying to stop the bleeding. Mason cried and groaned in pain. The sound of scratching came from the wall. Everyone froze, looking at the side of the bus. Everything was silent, save for the scratching and Mason's quiet whimpers. Long fingers were crawling up the window. I stared as the pale, white fingers, equipped with long, rotten claw, like nails, dragged across the window, then lowered back down. I looked at the others, and they all seemed equally as freaked out. Bang! The sound came from the back of the bus. Everyone jumped. Bang! Another one. Everyone started to move away, and the banging stopped. The beast was looking for another way in. I think it can't get in, as long as we stay away from the windows. Tyler was still helping Mason, who quietly cried, terrified by his mangled hands. But we're trapped. How can we escape? Dylan asked. Maybe someone can get help. That's it. Call someone, I shouted. Truthfully, I was proud of myself and felt heroic. Yes, everyone tried to call, Tyler said hastily. Everyone once again scrambled, grabbing their phones. I grabbed mine and closed Call of Duty Mobile and switched over to the call app. But there was no service. Everyone else had the same result. There's no way out. This is how we die, Sam said through his still tearful face. Ethan, Tyler, Jordan, Ryan, Mason, Noah, Connor, Lucas, Dylan, Nathan and Brandon, Jake, Alex and Sam, and Gregory too. His words frightened me beyond any fear I'd ever felt. This is how each of us die. Tyler, your efforts are wasted and in vain. There is no point. He finished. Sam, get a grip on yourself. You're bringing everyone down. Tyler shouted. Everyone sat in stunned and fearful silence. Sam only grabbed and threw his phone. The clang made everyone jump. Sam? Tyler asked, puzzled. Sam walked to the back of the bus and did nothing for a second before turning and saying, "Continue what you're doing. Don't mind me." No one did anything until Tyler initiated action once more. "All right, everyone, keep going. Look for the monster. Maybe if we all attack it, we can defeat it," he said, as nobly as he could. "Sam's right," Lucas said. Giving up, a few other players nodded their heads. I almost did. But no, I could not give up. I had to live. If you are weak, gather at the back with Sam. The rest of us, who still have a will to live, board the windows with your backpacks and anything else you can find. Tyler yelled furiously, angry at the ones who were giving up, sounding almost sure of their survival. But there was an underlying tone of doubt in his voice. Still, it gave everyone a little bit more hope. I grabbed my backpack and went to the windshield and put it against it. The monster was still clawing and scratching at the sides, trying to find a way in. I glimpsed it run under the bus when I looked out the door. Its pale white skin was across its whole body, and it ran on all fours, but it had a human-like body. I didn't get a very good look though, but the little I did see horrified me. This is the point where I decided to give up. I did nothing, contemplating my end. It killed Coach. It'll kill me too. I began to walk to the back, head down. While walking, I was stopped by someone putting their hand on my chest. I looked up and saw Ethan wind up and slap me across the face. His face was serious and sad at the same time. He looked me in the eyes, then shook me. "No, you can't, because if you do, I might have to too." Then he threw me to the ground roughly. My cheek burned, but I ignored the pain. He was right. I mean, what's the point in not trying? No effort was weak. It was the easy way out. So what if my efforts would end up in vain? At least I tried. There was absolutely no point in not trying. "Thank you," I said to Ethan, hovering over me. I stood up and slapped him back. "We will get out of this." He nodded and we continued following Tyler's orders. He had us gather all our food in one place in case we would need it, and cover the windows with our backpacks as best as we could. Even though they didn't stay up very well. I found a gross piece of jerky on the ground. It only had a single bite and was sticky. I needed to get a better look at what we were up against, so I approached Tyler. Can I throw this out the window to get a better look? I need to know what we are up against. I thought maybe if I threw it out the window, the thing would chase after it. It's a skinwalker, Ryan said as he passed. I rolled my eyes, but Tyler looked back at me, his face grave and serious. Who knows? Ryan could be right. I have no idea, and no, it's too dangerous. All you need to know is it's not human. It's a beast with white skin and a primal hunger. He paused as he heard a bang from the back of the bus and an insatiable thirst. He looked me in the eyes. It will not hesitate to kill you, so no, get back to work. What surprised me was that my fear did not grow. I think perhaps my fear was at a max at this point. I only turned and got back to work, leaving the jerky on a chair. We continued to work, trying to secure the bus as best we could. We were all quiet, trying to hide from the monster, as if that would help. The silence was broken by a long, low moan from under the bus. The creature's hurried footsteps ran to the front of the bus. We all stood up on our toes, trying to see. Suddenly, Coach began talking from where the footsteps had quieted. "Hey guys, it's safe, I'm fine. Come on out here," he said in a joyful voice. How? Everyone looked at each other, confused on what to do. I looked at Ethan right next to me, who was looking at me. We both knew. Ha ha, of course. It's a coach, Sam yelled. He sounded like a crazy man. "Is this all a prank?" one of the weak players asked. I turned to look at the others. "That's not Coach," Tyler agreed, and said to ignore Coach. "Do not open the doors." Coach got angry and yelled, "Hey guys, just come out here. We need to practice. Guys, do you all want to sit on the bench?" "No," the weak player said as he started to open the back door. "Stop. That's not Coach. I'm sure of it," I said. My teammate stopped. "How are you sure? What if you're wrong?" he asked. "Dude, if it's Coach, he'll show himself," Ethan yelled. "And if you open that door, the skinwalker will get in." Ryan finished. Coach went silent for a moment before it moaned a long, inhumane moan. The player gave up the argument and sat down. It ran to the back of the bus and faced towards the players there. I could not see very well, with all the players in the way. I jumped on a chair and saw it staring at us. It was humanoid, but had the pale and white skin I had seen earlier. It had beady eyes and a slit for a mouth. It was bald too. It also was disfigured, and each limb was a different length, and one of its arms a stubble with no fingers. Its ribs showed and was skinnier than a stick. It inhaled a long, deep breath before screaming at the bus. The scream was so loud it hurt. My ears rang. It was a scream of pure hunger and craving. Then it clawed at the glass, but couldn't get through. It did not give up, though. It kept scratching and scratching. The glass, miraculously, didn't break, and it seemed to tire itself out. It then ran back under the bus. "Daylight," Tyler said. "That is my hope. You see how pale that thing is. It will leave when the sun rises." "Greg, what time is it?" At least, I think that's what he said. It was hard to make out through the ringing still in my ear. I pulled out my phone, shivering with fear. 2:30, I said. Just hearing myself was difficult. We only need to wait another 4 hours. He can't get in. We're fine. Tyler said. Huh? Nope. Sam shouted crazily. Then he began to laugh maniacally. No one will get out. Not you, Tyler. Not me. Not anyone. He said as he ran to the front of the bus, appearing to have lost all sanity. He reached for the button to open the back and front of the bus and pushed them both. I was near the front and did, again, nothing. Why did I do nothing? I would have given me just a couple more seconds to get away. Then maybe I wouldn't have lost anything. The creature ran into the front and tackled Sam to the ground. It knocked Noah over next, then me. I tried to scramble away. It bit me in the leg and kept running. I stood back up and ran to the front of the bus. It was tackling and biting every player it could. It missed only Tyler, Jordan, and Connor. I ran to the front and off the bus. Once it had gone through the whole bus, it turned around, but another player kicked it out the back door. A few players fell off as well, though. A few others followed me out the front door. Tyler ran to the front and told us all to get back on. I started walking to him, but my bitten leg started to fail me. It was a strange, numb feeling. Soon my leg collapsed under me, and I fell over. The beast ran at me and dragged me, screaming under the bus, the rocky rough dirt scraping all my exposed skin. The first sense that came back to me was smell, and it hit me like a wave of putrid decay. It was a stench so vile, so overpowering, that it seemed to seep into every fiber of my being. It was worse than anything I had ever experienced before. A noxious blend of rotting flesh, stagnant water, and something indefinitely sinister. It clawed at my senses, threatening to overwhelm me with its sheer foulness. It was the smell of death itself, hanging heavy in the air like a shroud over the scene unfolding before me. Worse than any smell I had ever smelled, I woke up under the bus. Laying there, I couldn't move anything but my eyes, and to some extent, my neck. I looked around and saw the monster feeding on one of my teammates, one of my friends. I couldn't even tell who it was. His face was ruined, and he was dead. Coach was right behind him, dead as well. Most of the team surrounded me. Most were asleep. But Ethan, in front of me, was awake and staring right back at me. I tried, but failed to swallow. I heard noises from above. It was muffled, but it sounded like talking, mostly Tyler. They were okay, I think. I turned back and looked at Ethan. We had to find a way out. He stared at my lower body. I looked down, confused. What I saw, I still dream about. This moment shattered the last bit of my cool, and I can never forget it. My left leg was detached from my body. The creature had torn off my leg. My leg was nearby and torn, ripped and bloody. The sight of my own limb, separated from me, yet grotesquely present before me, filled me with a visceral dread, a sensation I struggle to comprehend even now. It was a moment of profound horror, one that haunts me still. I dream about it every night to this day. I tried to move as hard as I could, really, really hard. I barely lifted my pointer finger. Then it fell back into its limp state. It was such a small, unnoticeable effort. Resistance was futile, and I figured I would probably die. I began brainstorming ways out. It was hard with my brain so clouded with my fear and the disgusting sight in front of me. But I managed to come up with one thing. Hope. Hope, despite the terrible circumstances. Even though my death seemed set in stone, I had hope. I tried again to move. My finger lifted again. It wanted to go limp, but I refused. I waged a silent battle against my own body, willing it to obey my commands despite the relentless onslaught of fatigue and pain. I pushed through with every ounce of strength I could muster, refusing to yield to the oppressive weight that threatened to destroy my hope. Soon I could move my entire hand. Somehow it got easier and easier, and the limpness waned more and more by the moment, giving way to a gradual thawing of the stiffness that had once gripped my limbs like ice. There was a shout from up above. The creature perked up a moment, then ran off. This was my chance. It was now or never. With every ounce of strength, I fought to lift myself. Sweat soaked my brow, mingling with the Arizona dust beneath me as I strained. After just a half minute of trying or so, somehow, I got enough movement out of my body to roll out from under the bus. It took everything I had, but I did it. I rolled out on the side with the door, and gasping for breath, I glimpsed Tyler's concerned face through the window before darkness claimed me once more. I woke up back on the bus. My leg was bandaged, and movement, while still hard, was relatively easier. The joy and gratefulness I felt in that moment could not be compared to even the size of Mount Everest. I sat up and looked around. Tyler, Jordan, Connor, and Kyle were all here, waiting. Tyler noticed my wakefulness and walked over. "How did you get away?" he asked. I sighed and shook my head. "How did? I'm alive," I croaked, my throat sore. "I saw you. Me and Jordan went out and got you." "Got this though," Jordan said, walking over, pointing at a bite on his arm. "Jordan, you'll go limp." "Yeah, it's already started," he replied solemnly. I closed my eyes for a minute before reopening them. "Time?" I asked, like a dead man. "Time for you to get a watch," Jordan replied. He smirked, thinking he was funny. He wasn't. "Just kidding. 6:05. The sun will rise any minute." It was drawing to an end. It was close to over. Finally, a tear formed at the corner of my eye, and the emotions took over as more tears filled my eyes. I was too weak to do anything else. Tyler walked over to attend to some muffled screaming or shouting. I was sent into a confused, almost panic. What was that? I looked, and it was Sam. My eyes lit up with anger, and I pointed at him, which in my fury took little effort. "Calm down, cool it," Jordan said. "We got him tied up." I watched Sam as he thrashed around, trying to escape the ropes that confined him. Tyler checked his knots to make sure he could not get out. He was the reason the monster got on the bus. He was the reason Ethan is probably already dead. He is the reason I no longer have my left leg. I could hear my heartbeat and heavy breathing, so I tried to relax, but I couldn't. Then it happened. The back window shattered, and the creature rushed in a craze. It jumped and tackled down Jordan right next to me. I stood up and hobbled to the front again, hoping the same thing would not happen last time it got in, even though it already was lining up that way. My tiredness did not concern me in any way. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, till the sun rose, I repeated to myself. It was hard to move with only one leg, but I managed, for the sake of my survival. I pressed the button to open the side door and started hobbling over, hopping on my one foot. I looked and saw the creature running towards me. I dived out the door and landed on the hard earth below. I crawled as fast as I could away from the bus. The thud hit me when I had only made a few feet. The creature was on top of me and tore at the skin of my back, ripping my shirt and causing me to burn in pain. I turned and shoved it off, but it quickly regathered and jumped back on me. It hurt everywhere, and every second hurt worse. The pain was unimaginable, and I thought for sure I would die. This is when my hope died, but only for a bare moment. It was only gone for just a few heartbeats. Through the pain, teeth gritting and suffering, my hope was regained in an instant when I saw a beam of light emerge over the distant brown hills, enveloping the land in light. I hoped and begged that Tyler's theory was right. It was my only hope to cling to, that it could not be in the sun. And he was right. Its skin began to sizzle and burn like an egg on a stove. Steam rose in the air from its back. The creature started to scream a horrid scream, and it dashed away into the distance, running to a rock, but collapsed before it got there. The gray steam continued to emit from the creature while I lay there in pain. An hour or so later, I got up and walked back into the bus. Everyone was limp and unconscious. The creature had bit everyone, and the effects had taken their toll faster than they had for me. Perhaps the creature's venom, or whatever numbed us, got faster the more desperate the creature was. I guess I'll never know, I thought to myself. But that was wrong. This would not be my final encounter with these creatures. Once they were all able to move, Tyler and Kyle went on a hike to go get some service and call for help. They thought it wasn't far, and promised to be back before the day was out. I figured we'd be fine, and only worried a little bit they wouldn't get back before night. We ended up fine and alive. I was stuck with only one leg for the rest of my life, of course. Too much of it was gone for a prosthetic. Only me, Tyler, Jordan, Kyle, Connor, and Sam survived. I miss Ethan and can't stand thinking about him. As I wrote this tale, I cried and mourned for him. I will always remember what happened that night and the terror the monster brought. But it wasn't over yet.
If this story followed you, if you felt watched while listening, then it did its job. Not every shadow is empty. Not every voice you recognize is human, and not everything that learns forgets. Lock your doors, trust your instincts, and if something feels off, leave. Now help us with like and subscribe to the channel, and if you got any more creepy real story you want to be shared, comment down below. This has been Beyond the Darkness. Sleep if you can. We'll be waiting right here next time.